have to be taught how to survive and live in this society. The job of teaching us that begins at home and then expands out to our schools, our neighbors, our other friends, right? Our churches, our temples, our communities, eventually to the media. And as centuries have gone by, there are more and more parents out there available to tell us what we should think and feel, what we should believe. It used to be very simple. It used to be that all of the family lived together in one house, in a very small community, and everybody in the community believed the same thing, and the whole village worked together to teach a child how to survive and thrive in the group. As societies and cultures have grown, it's become more and more complicated. There's more and more influences telling our children who to be and how to be. Would you agree with that? So, here's the interesting piece. Every single person in this room, us included, were taught how to live and survive in our families before we were old enough to understand what we were learning. Here's how it happens. As we're growing up, we are taught two sets of rules: what to do and what not to do. What to be and what not to be, what to have and what not to have, what to feel and what not to feel. We're taught all of that within our families. Sometimes we're taught that by watching what people do, and we say, okay, well, I know now how to be a grown-up because I've watched these people. Right? Some people teach it out loud. Say, now, Arlene, when you grow up, I want you to be a good girl for the rest of your life. You be a good girl. And that's how, and I am. See, she already knows. She learned that rule, right? So rules are taught by how we act around our children and what we say to our children. Everybody got that one? I want you to think of this as if you're in a play. Have any of you ever been in a play at school? All right. So when you're in a play, they hand you an actual script. And in that script, what it talks about is, here's the whole story. Here's your name. This is your character. This is who you are. This is what you should feel. They put that in italics, right? He said, sadly. So now you know, okay, I'm supposed to feel sad now. I want you to walk stage left. So now you know what to do, when to do it. But little by little, generation after generation, families look alike because they pass the rules down. And there's always children in these families who hear and see and feel the rules around them and say, when I grow up, you know where I'm going with this, right? I'm not going to do this to my kids. I'm not going to raise my family this way. It's going to be different. Did any of you ever watch the show Mad About You? Okay, it was a comedy, sitcom, and at one point in the show, he was yelling at his wife, and he went like this, and he stopped midstream, and he said, when did I grow my father's finger? How many of you have ever had the experience where you open your mouth to talk, and all of a sudden you realize the words or tone that's coming out of your mouth is something somebody else did in your family a long time ago, and you swore you'd never do it? Anybody? Sure. So even if we make darn determinations that we will never do or say what others did and said to us in times of stress, boom, comes right out. And the reason for that is because the script is laid in before we're old enough to fight it. So the script is there. And it will always be there like a file cabinet, only the files are at the back of the cabinet. So in the old days when we used to use these file cabinets, right, because medical records today are very organized, but in the old days when we had these cabinets, we would put the files in and then we'd put the next one in front of it and the next one in front of it and the next one in front of it. So what would happen is the old files get pushed all the way to the back and they're very hard to access, but they're still there, and that's your brain until you run out of estrogen, but that's another seminar. So What I'm sharing with you right now is that all of the experiences that we have growing up stay with us and come back whenever we run into situations that are in any way similar, in any way. When our brain makes a connection between the past and the present, and it may not be a conscious connection. It may be just suddenly our analytical brain says, okay, this reminds me of that, so I should behave this way because that's what I was taught there. And you're not even aware that you're doing it. Now here's the really fun part of it. Everything you're taught in your life is being lived out right here in this practice. And if Hal and I could spend enough time with you, we could actually tell you a significant number of the rules that you learned growing up without you even telling us that you'd learned them, just by watching you. Many of you have already shown us some of the rules that you live. When you talk to us, we hear your language, and pretty soon you're going to learn how to do it too. Now here's the fun of it. The fun of it is that once you understand the language of rules, you will understand much of what's been happening in your practice, and you'll know how to fix it. When you understand the language of rules, you'll understand what makes some patients the way they are, and you'll know how to work better with them. You'll understand why some people seem to get so upset over things that really don't seem like a big deal to you, and why other people aren't getting upset at things that you think are huge. You'll understand so much when this is done.